Piñata Nation versus Alt3. And for the casting talent tonight, you're going to have me, Sir Waltham, as well as Threepwood007 back in the commenter seats. Threep?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Overwatch Watchers Brawl. Boy, am I happy to have you all with us tonight.
Yeah, and we are certainly excited to be ready to see these two teams kind of go head-to-head and duke it out here. But before we do, as has become a little bit of a ritual here, we have a little bit of the talent from Piñata Nation. Aiko, want to say hello to the folks at home?
Hello, hello.
Now, you are the owner of Team Piñata Nation, correct?
That is correct.
Fantastic. I really like the name. Where did you guys come up with Piñata Nation?
I'm really pleased with it actually, but to be honest, it was kind of a backup. We were originally called Nomads. Turns out there was already an established group called Nomads, so I do a bit of a switcheroo there. But we were just kind of spitballing for a good hour or so until we landed on this one, and I think it turned out really good.
Yeah, I certainly agree. Solid name, and I think that's like 90% of what wins games, because obviously it's not gameplay, but as what made you guys really kind of come together? Was there just a lot of teams we talked to are like, oh, we were fans of something and then we all came together, or we knew each other from college or something like that? Was there anything like that for your team?
Not really, actually. I just kind of got up one day. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make an esports organization, and I like playing Overwatch, so let's start there. Recruited all the guys. They'd never really played with each other before coming to the team, but they got some really good synergy. When you watch them play, it feels like they've been playing for years together.
Well, that's certainly what I like to hear going into this game. Now, you guys did play a little bit in Open Division, and it looks like y'all had quite a bit of success for only, I have here, being 5 months old.
Yeah, that's right. October of last year was when we formed.
Oh, that is certainly very impressive. I guess the final question I have for you is, what made you guys decide that you wanted to hop into the Overwatch Watchers Brawl?
I mean, really, like you said, we're a new team. I think at this point, the experience of the tournament structure is really something that we need more of. So I saw this and I was like, you know what, that looks like a good structure there. Let's get some more experience.
Well, we certainly we are happy to oblige you folks, as long as you will provide us with some solid gameplay, which I'm sure we're about to see here in just a little bit. But for the time being, we're going to go ahead and crack on, get started with that. But Aiko, thank you very much for sticking around and answering a few questions.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Now, as we get going, Threepwood, we are going to be going on to Busan as our first map. What do you think about it?
Ooh, we haven't seen a lot of play on Busan yet, Waltham. In all seriousness, references aside, Busan is one of the maps that I'm looking forward to most to see high-tier players play on. Because when I've played Busan, I've had a mix of experiences. And one of the things that I love seeing from players that are much more skilled than I am, aka literally both of the teams playing today, is what strategies are they going to pull out on these three very drastically different maps?
Yeah, there's I'm not sure if there's necessarily a whole lot of consensus, especially as we have different compositional changes, meta shifts, and stuff like that, as to what the best comp is. I think that for the map we're going on to here, you definitely like to see Widow or Ashe, something that can take advantage of that higher ground. So perhaps we'll see those two snipers come out, or at least one of them, but I think it's a little bit up in the air for the time being.
Yeah, it should be a thoroughly very interesting situation. Busan City Center has that advantage of being one of the few maps in the map pool for this particular King of the Hill, whereby you have a solid case for playing Widow, for playing Ashe. There's, again, like you mentioned, there's a lot of high ground and altitude changes in general that are just needed, and a D.Va is probably going to be mandatory, possibly even a Winston.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to be playing against those snipers, dive tanks, or somebody to really handle and harass are going to be kind of key features in this situation. Maybe if we saw this map come down to like the second or third, we might see some bans of Widow come out. But remember, at home, folks, this is a hero ban system onto the winning team. So the team that wins this fight will have one hero banned for the next map. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I'm kind of ready to dive in here.
And dive we possibly will see, or rather not, as both teams before the casters get debated. It looks like they're both going to be rocking out that classic Orion Zarya Diva composition. Zenigo's pretty much guaranteed from the right side in the red alt 3. Meanwhile, the Piñata Nation, again, a bit of an exactly mirror comp. So we're going to be seeing Zenyatta Goats, and let's see how they do on this Busan City Center.
Yeah, absolutely. Zenyatta probably being preferred here, as you can get a lot more burst damage, the healing not being so necessary when you can just burn heroes down so quickly. And we're going to get right into it.
Forget the poke. We have gone right into the full engagement with Dark's Reinhardt doing some incredible work, building up incredible ult charge. Gernop not too far behind, but really no teams managed to able to take. And there it is. No, that's Cardi. It's gonna be the Piñata Nation eliminating the enemy team's Reinhardt first. Massive shield, and they are going to take out. Unbelievable! Despite losing their Reinhardt, they take point. All 3.
Yeah, overall, you think that perhaps there was a little bit of hesitation on Piñata Nation to get onto the point, and a very early Transcendence coming out from Lunaru.
So Lunaru demonstrate, and Reinhardt, unbelievable Mrs. Nesbit, showing some incredible propensity on these heroes, bringing out their ultimates, generating point charge on the point. So again, Piñata Nation is probably going to take this point at the end of this ridiculously long team fight, but that's going to be 26% generated for all 3.
Yeah, and I mean, there's kind of a back and forth. You see that the supports for Piñata Nation use their ults a little bit, or don't have as much ult charge right now, but their tanks have a lot more ult charge than, well, the Ryan and Zarya and Diva, I guess, have more ult charge than their opponents.
Yeah, but it's ultimately, it's going to be looking who's in charge of the point. It's going to be, Piñata Nation, who have the ultimates, they have the point. They're the ones setting the stage, and then they go massive shatter, getting almost everyone! Unbelievable!
Yeah, the opening was really set up there. Dark just letting their guard down for one moment, and Garen gonna absolutely capitalize on it and shatter, I think, 5 or 6 of the entire team.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with One Trick actually being the unsung hero of that particular fight. With, if you look at the kill feed, if you happen to be catching it, Discord's just about on every kill, making sure that that follow-up was as efficient as possible.
Yeah, and with those tank ults, follow-up is the most crucial. So many times we've seen Zarya grabs or Ryan shatters just not get any value because there was no follow-up.
And the grab gets eaten, Ralny! Oh no, Cardi's grab just completely eaten, but they're still going to maintain control of the point, but that's going to be the big opening as Alt 3 surges onto the point, eliminating One Trick Cardi, and they're probably going to take control after doing some incredible damage.
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of mind games there, and when you blow that Zarya ult, you expect to be able to collapse very easily, but when it gets eaten, it kind of can throw off your momentum a little bit, especially if the entire team's coordinating upon it. And overall, Raylini doing a very good job to ward off those ults.
Yeah, love seeing that Diva positioning. You know that the enemy, or rather, you've probably been counting the enemy's ultimates. You know what's going to be coming. You're in the position. You eat it.
Yeah, once again, just the high-level play we expect to see from these two teams.
Poke throws out the rally and they get charged immediately. They're down. Ridiculous play coming up from Alt 3 as they stuff an ult right down into the gullet of Piñata Nation.
Yeah, that's the second ult that has effectively been canceled by Team Alt 3, and man, they're really seeing the payout for it.
Really good, solid back and forth Overwatch. 83%, but now it's going to be 65. But what's the Diva going to come up with? Nothing. Counterbomb comes out from Reality. It is going to pick up Alfie on the Lucio, and also a D-Mac, a nasty finishing move, ending this push. Probably coming out from Piñata Nation.
Yeah, I think that if you're Garen, you might have wanted to get that Earth Shatter back. It really didn't pick up anything, and I believe they were already down 1 or 2 players when it activated anyway, but their ult economy looking a little bit worse for wear. However, both teams just having that support ult online. We'll see how it shakes out.
So on Busan, we're seeing a very emphasis on this main route. Dimming down the barriers are going to come out. It's going to catch almost every member of Piñata Nation. Huge amount of HP going in, but now the rally countering. Glizzy going to drop in a huge amount of armor, but both Reinhardt's now down. The Zarya grab's going to go in, and Mrs. Nesbit unbelievably destroying Piñata Nation. Probably going to be taking this round of Busan.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of neat body blocking going on there, where the team's the attacking team Piñata Nation was kind of in the side hallway, and so alt three just kind of collapsed on them and prevented them from getting the ability to push onto point with all those big beefy tank bodies, and it really kind of made them freak out a little bit. And then the Zarya grab certainly didn't hurt from Nesbit.
Yeah, really filthy. Also, I really want to do a call out to Mrs. Nesbit. Love your battle tag. Love your handle. I love everything about it. It's my childhood screaming at me right there in my face. Can't stand it. Moving on. We are on Busan's Shrine. I hate this map.
It is a little bit of a difficult map. The control point, I would say one of the smaller ones, especially with that big old drum in the way. Kind of hard to play around. Especially when you kind of do the merry-go-round with the tanks where they're just circling one another in the same counterclockwise or clockwise direction.
I would argue this is possibly also one of the smallest points in the game, territorial-wise, as we are going to see both teams jockeying for what limited square footage there is, and Gernop is going to be the one who falters amongst that pressure, with Lutru just dishing out the damage, with Brigitte making sure that they have that ridiculous quantity of armor beneath them. It's going to be Mr. Salty, also the first diva to get demeched and destroyed, as Alt 3 takes Busan's Shrine with nary so much as a how do you do.
Yeah, Garen OP looking like they're trying to really get aggressive, but just was not followed up with the rest of their team. Perhaps a little bit of a miscommunication error there, but I think that when they all get in the same mindset, we're going to see a more aggressive push.
Lunaru's generation of their trans is now officially illegal. It is ridiculous that they already have it with only, like, I can't even comprehend it. I don't even know if we'll see it as, and unbelievable! Where did that grav go? I heard the sound, but no, that's not actually, I didn't hear the grav. Mrs. Nesbit, however, is going to go down. Pug, I don't even know how you kill that many people with that particular ability of Brigitte, but they're pulling it off, and this could be the Piñata Nation's resurgence, revolution, so to speak.
Yeah, they are certainly going to be looking to hang some piñatas on this gazebo as we see the point turn around right here. But yeah, overall, Pug doing some massive DPS on that Brigitte. I believe the whip shot does 50 damage if it lands, and to get 2 kills, as you mentioned, with finishing with that, that's a pretty accurate focus fire.
Woof, it's incredible, and it looks like Alt 3 is going to be taking a bit of a zing, and there goes the Shatter. It catches a huge quantity of the members of Piñata Nation, but the follow-up is not there, and Lucio gets their barriers off, and a grab, and a bomb, and it's a boom, but Mr. Salty's the one who comes out on top, demeching a diva and crushing a Zarya.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it seems like the ults are perhaps going a little bit more in favor of Team Piñata Nation, at least for that attacking phase. But they're going to be a little bit dry running up against Alt 3, so we'll have to see how they shake out. The Grav Diva Bomb combo, another potentially lethal one we might see coming out, so I think you're going to want to keep your eyes out for that.
I mean, long story short, I want to say this match is looking a lot more equitable or equal, as they say, with both teams, especially in the form of Piñata Nation, really strutting their stuff, indicating that they can control a map as much as they need to. But the poke comes in, and there's Mr. Salty's grab going in. A Diva Bomb's going to come in on top of it. He's going to way too up, but there it is! Rowdy! Unbelievable! Ridiculous Poco quantity!
Yeah, there is just like we said, there was pretty much just going to be the Grav Diva Bomb combo, and really the only defense you really have against that is Mr. Salty really just trying to eat that Grav. However, not going to be able to in that instance will cost them the fight, but it's still looking pretty even as far as percentage goes.
Oh yeah, Piñata Nation has a very solid chance of taking this point back. They are going to have to force out as many ults as they can, and here they go. They grab the rally. It's only a Shatter and barriers left. How much damage can they do? Forcing it out. Dark Shield is almost about to drop. He drops it long enough, but the Shatter goes out from Dark, and there it is. They pull it, and they are going to get some kills, and that's going to be huge, but that's going to be Piñata Nation generating just a tad more ult charge than they had before.
Yeah, and the things that we just saw with these GOATS comps when they're so heavy is that if you're up against a wall and you can't back out, you just have the entire force of the GOATS comp pushing down onto you, which we really saw, especially once Dark landed that Shatter. We saw Piñata Nation start to back up, but they hit that wall, and then the rest of Alt 3 was able to just collapse on them so vigorously.
Now, dirty situation. Piñata Nation has to make contact on this point now to guarantee a pen. And Garen OP is going to pull off the shatter, and they're going to grab Glizzly as a free. And that's going to be no massive sustain for Alt 3. Big ults coming out. Diva Bomb gets nothing. That's going to come in. No, it gets a D-Back, and Roundy eats another grab from Cardi. The defense matrix is real despite the debuff. And that's going to be another grab now coming out from Mrs. Nesbit. And it is going to result in at least the kill on Alfie. The scrap fight is real, but unfortunately, it looks like it's actually rather going to be Piñata Nation going to be taking most of the kills, possibly maintaining that point advantage. It's difficult to say.
Yeah, Rail Me on this Diva being really efficient. We saw as soon as the Rhine goes down, they threw out the Diva Bomb, providing that extra damage, and knowing that there was no shielding to kind of maneuver around for the Piñata Nation.
And Alt 3 is going to come out with a shatter. They are going to force Piñata Nation away from the point. They're going to, Alt 3 going to take Busan for the first time in this particular tournament. Boy, am I excited. Love seeing the strategies coming out.
Yeah, and as you say, first time in the tournament. Both of these teams new to the tournament, so definitely look to be making an impression on both sides, and we're going to be seeing the key feature, as I mentioned before, when you get that Goats comp really pressed up against a wall, you're just able to apply so much pressure like a vice grip. It can be brutal.
Literally up against a wall as the shatter from Dark, which came out as play of the game, gonna be literally annihilating Piñata Nation, who has their work cut out for them in this next position, where Alt 3 is going to be the individual who's going to save a hero for their team and ban a single map. Now, Piñata Nation, after following that up, they are going to ban a hero and then choose the next map, whereby Alt 3 will then choose, if necessary or applicable, which side of the map they'd like to start on.
Indeed, however, I'm very curious as to what the choices are going to be coming out here. If you go with the Diva or the Zarya, I think it really pulls the teeth on this Goats comp. But I don't know if either team are necessarily showing their full hand. It's one of those things where I think the bans will depend on the maps that Piñata Nation is going to be choosing, which will be dependent on which maps Alt 3 bans. So there's a lot of interplay here that I don't think we can really get a feel for who should get rid of what yet.
Indeed you do, and the tournament is so young. I personally haven't seen any particular pattern or prevalence to any particular hero saves or bans or maps or bans. Also, as a reminder to everyone listening and paying attention to the Twitch chat, we have an MVP poll. Don't forget to check the channel panels for said poll. Let your voice be heard. Make your chat be known. Vote for your favorite player tonight. And it looks like Alt 3 is going to save Lucio and ban Hanamura, which in my opinion is a great choice.
Yeah, that means if we do run an assault map, it can only be Horizon Lunar Colony in the next coming games, as that Hanamura ban does stay throughout the rest of this series. But I don't know. I imagine not a lot of teams too friendly with Horizon Lunar Colony, so we may not be seeing too much assault map immediately. But I mean, we still have a couple very good options. Eichenwald, Route 66, and Ilios being some of my favorites.
Given the GOAT fight that just came out on Busan's Shrine, I would guesstimate that possibly Piñata Nation might be gearing up towards a map with a more nuanced compositions. And there it is, they are going to be going for Eichenwald, which does have a prevalence towards GOATs, but is no stranger towards, as the map progresses, a drastic change in which compositions are the most effective.
Yeah, and even Pharah is somebody we can see on first point, kind of able to break those Goats comps. There's a really high skybox for Eichenwald, which allows Pharah to get a lot of height. Paired with a Mercy, it can just pile in the damage and really make the defensive team have to kind of take cover and really kind of limit the positioning they're able to take.
Yeah, it's super filthy. And with Piñata Nation banning Reinhardt, Eichenwald is going to be an interesting map choice. I've seen some really disgusting full holds on Reinhardt, or rather on Eichenwald without the Reinhardt. And Alt 3 is, statistically, the good choice, going to switch over to the defense. So as a reminder, that's going to be Alt 3 showing up now on the blue side, defending Eichenwald first with Piñata Nation on the red in the right, going to be attacking initially. So they're going to have to make good choice of their Reinhardt band, knowing that Lucio is going to show up on Alt 3 possibly for this Eichenwald offense.
Yeah, and in this situation, for first point, without the Reinhardt, to me, I would typically imagine that you would see either a Hammond, because there's that giant tower in the middle to kind of get a lot of speed and height for those ground slams, or the Orisa if you're setting up for a very bunkered comp. I'm very curious as to what Alt 3 will decide to run in this situation. As you said, Piñata Nation going to really have to try to make the best of it and really take advantage of the fact that there's not going to be that mobile shield.
Yeah, and we've seen some really disgusting punchy comps come out, but I haven't seen a lot of them come out from Eichenwald. Now, Eichenwald does also tend to favor some really crazy comps. You can get some nasty Pharah plays, you can probably, with the buff, get some really dirty Reaper plays. I'm genuinely curious as to what both teams, after this half-minute play, and also given that Alt 3 is on the defense, what are we going to see from these teams?
Yeah, indeed. I think that if nothing else, there will be a struggle significantly for Alt 3 to, on the offense, that is, really get through that third point, because the interior of the castle in Eichenwald is so hard to get at without that Rhine. You really want something to push up in such a confined and enclosed space. So it's something that I'm curious to see how they'll tackle that, particularly indoors if they make it that far. I'm really hoping they do, because I would love to see those higher level ideas and the synergies come out. But for now, I'm just going to have to wait and hope they can make it that far.
Right, and given Alt 3's... Rather, how should we say this? Given the ban placed on Alt 3 by Piñata Nation for the Reinhardt, they're going to be pretty much forced onto a divey kind of composition. That's exactly what they're throwing out. Dark on the Winston, Railney on the Diva, with a Pharmacy to complement it. That's pretty much exactly what I would have expected from Alt 3's defense.
Yeah, and the GOAT's composition probably going to have a little bit of trouble running into this, at least on the initial. It can build up a ton of ult charge for Mr. Nesbit if they are allowed, but we're just going to have to see if they're able to utilize that far to the maximum potential.
Huge from Mr. Salty, taking the Sombra, scouting out the enemy team. They warped back to spawn. They're going with a very awesome looking dive. Cardi on the Widowmaker, Garen OP on the Winston again. Oh, and now Pug switching up. So we got a double sniper dive coming out on the offense.
Yeah, and that's really going to restrict the amount of sightlines that the defending team will be able to take, especially against that Pharmacy combo. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, and that's going to be Garen OP dropping their bubble possibly a little before they would have necessarily wanted to. Thanks to that Pharah just making life incredibly difficult, building ult charge way too quickly.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a brawl, but not too much high fragging action quite yet. Mr. Salty going to be getting demeched, and it looks like we might start rolling into it.
Yeah, rather Piñata Nation going to be doing a bit of a trade there. Mr. Salty getting demexed, but Dark on the Winston is going to fall. Unfortunately, Mrs. Nesbit's Pharah is going to start ratcheting up the game plan. They're going to take out 2. Pug is also going to fall. Too much damage, too much shields lost from Piñata Nation's push.
Yeah, Garen OP actually going to be getting the nano boost, but slept as soon as he dives onto Lunaru as well as Stringy Place, and he's going to just get bullied by the 2 supports. That is a little bit of a crucial misstep in that tight, confined area if you're the main tank where you can't really provide that space purchase.
Super filthy, and Piñata Nation, again, not really showing a lot of ults other than Garen OP's Primal Rage. Meanwhile, Alt 3 showing way too much ult generation by comparison. That's going to be very dirty coming in. What kills are going to come out first is going to determine who's going to take this point first. Can ults come out before? And there it is, the big barrage, but Glizzy's actually going to be the one taking out their Lucio compatriot. Healing source and speed boost source gone. That's probably going to be a push that's not going to amount to much.
Yeah, Garen OP once again really getting pressured in that hallway. It seems like every time they get put into that hallway, they just get slept and have to take a nap, and even forced out the Primal Rage after they got woken up. So it's a tough spot if you're that main tank player.
Yeah, so good situation for Alt 3. 2 ults means a 1 team fight, and a minute 25 left for Piñata Nation means that means Alt 3 is doing their duty. Meanwhile, Piñata Nation does not have a lot to speak for. They have a barriers about to come online, otherwise a nano and a bomb, and that's it.
Yeah, the switch is coming out for the attacking team. That was a massive Diva Bomb.
Huge! Unbelievable! With Piñata Nation, with racking up the kills, this is now officially an Eichenwald match!
Yeah, it was actually looking pretty grim as we were going into the ult economy look of it with the 2 swaps coming out from the DPS. However, the 1 Diva Bomb able to get Dark as they tried to jump and bubble the Diva Bomb. They were still in the bubble when it went off, so not quite able to time it just right, but still able to save perhaps from a lot more damage from Mr. Salty.
Absolutely massive. Commit the ults you need to the fight to win it, and now with 3 minutes, Piñata Nation is going to have a chance to make this Eichenwald map into something that they can really have a shot at winning outright.
Yeah, I really like this positioning, taking the high ground, getting really selective about where you want to dive, and then diving. As the Dark goes on to Dark, however, it's going to be a little bit of a defenseless backline for the defending team.
So when 2 teams are running dive, it's the situation of how do you run your dives? Do you run your counter dive? Do you run your preemptive dive? And in this situation, it's going to be Piñata Nation. They wait for Dark to dive in, and that's going to be Garen OP's signal to dive in on the opposing enemies. And massive payload percentage is the result.
Yeah, and I don't really know if it was necessary. Nesbit on that Widowmaker really does not need to push up, does not need to get that immediate space. Just being on top of the castle provides a lot of pressure.
Yeah, the situation there being Railney also now eliminating, and here we go, kill starting to come in for Alt 3. They're going to stabilize a tad as the cart rounds the bend. A very nasty situation for Eichenwald to be in, but the ultimate economy, again, favoring Piñata Nation, who made a very excellent push there, and coming up and now on a Nanoblade, Pug having switched over to a Genji and doing some great work.
Yeah, however, there will be Nesbit rather, to know the positions of all of the heroes on the attacking team. And some great catch by Raylene. And we're going to see the Nanoblade come out.
And Pug goes to work immediately, picking up the 3K. Garen OP following up. Dark is going to eliminate Pug at the end of his, how do we say this, rampage. But ultimately, this is going to be Piñata Nation's push, probably almost to the end. But it looks like the Alt 3 is going to have one more chance to contest. Maybe, possibly.
Yeah, the body block's not coming through quite enough for Mr. Salty, and it looks like they are going to contest the point.
Unbelievable, and now this is a scrappy fight, but it's going to be favoring Piñata Nation, who, unfortunately, you know, despite the Diva Bomb, they're going to be racking up kills left and right. A D-Mech and a Zenyatta kill means less damage, less heals, and maybe, just maybe, can they pull off Garen OP, but unfortunately, that's gonna, I don't know, they can't overcome this advantage. Primal Rage dishing out way more kills than anyone expects it to.
Yeah, and it's like we talk about with snipers all the time. We can see Cardi on that very high, far off ground. So pretty much you have to stay on cart, and you just can't deal with that Widow who's putting shots into your head and into your body for 120, 300 each. It's crippling if you're unable to handle that on both fronts.
Yeah, and now Cardi, having dispensed of their dragons, is going to switch over to the Zarya for this final point on Eichenwald, which can be an absolute pain in the gonads to push through. They're going to switch over to an Anagoats.
Yeah, and we are going to be seeing both Briggs come out for the side, so there will be a little bit of anti-dive composition, so Dark going to have to really be careful about who they jump here.
And Railney's Diva Bomb is going to go out in the face of 2 shields. It's not going to catch anyone. They're stuck on the Winston with Dark. They have not a lot of shields going in. Big Diva Bomb comes out. It's not going to get anyone either. But huge payload progress being made by Piñata Nation. But it's going to salt now, as now the spawn advantage from Alt 3 becomes ridiculously massive.
Yeah, only ult on the field right now is that Rally and Primal from both sides. So it's going to be a little bit non-favorsome in the attacker's favor.
Now, with 45 seconds left for Piñata Nation to finish this payload, they have a genuinely interesting advantage. There's not a lot of ult percentage that can be gained from either teams, but they're going to be coming up on both a Barriers, Grav, Nano Shatter, and a Rally, which is already in the bank, but remember, with the new debuff, there is no way that that minute, or rather 30-second armor is going to fall away before this map ends.
Yeah, at least not before overtime hits. Who knows how long this last brawl might last. Both teams going to want to be very scrappy here. Want to hold on as steady as possible.
Here comes the Rally, it's coming out. The Nano goes onto the Reinhardt. The Grav predictably comes out as a counter. Barriers solidifying any chance that may have had. And the counter Grav, that's going to be huge. Do they get any kills? Yes, they do! Ridiculous quantities of kills from Piñata Nation, popping out like so much candy. They're going to push this point with no resistance after a ridiculous team wipe.
Yeah, as we can see, the second Zarya Graph being so much more effective than the first, especially when the first had the sound barrier to really protect all of the team members, as well as the Nano onto the Rhine, which means he can keep his shield up for longer before dropping, which he didn't even fall in this case. So overall, just the ults were there for Piñata Nation, and they were able to react accordingly and use them appropriately.
Yeah, talk about wham bam, thank you ma'am. Piñata Nation showing that this match is not washed and done. They have completed Eichenwald. Now, granted, they have no time left on the clock. So, if Alt 3 comes out of the gate swinging like Muhammad Ali, they are going to finish this map with time left, and Piñata Nation could be in a situation where they are left with a tie. However, Piñata Nation having set the pace with a map complete means they have a full hold with a win opportunity before them.
Yeah, there is definitely a finalized line that Alt 3 will need to get to, and without that Reinhardt, that might be a little bit of a high pressure situation for the team. Definitely going to be dabbing the sweat off their brows, I anticipate, as we're going to be seeing this push without that heavy hitter main tank up at front and center.
That would be the intricacy of the hero bans at work. Since the winning team is the only one affected by that hero ban, that means in this current matchup, Piñata Nation in the red gets to use the Reinhardt all they want. Meanwhile, their compatriots on Alt 3, no Reinhardt for you, lo siento. But they're going to be going with a nice dive, a pharmacy even, and they're, oh, look at this. Look at Piñata Nation, they're going out completely beside them!
The sneak's absolutely brutal. This is a very aggressive positioning that could cost them a lot given how long the defender spawn is.
Unfortunately for Alt 3, it's looking like Piñata Nation played their cards correctly. They're going to eliminate way too many members of that initial push. It's going to cause a bit of a stagger, and for half a minute, possibly more, Alt 3's attempt at taking point A is going to be a bit stalled.
Yeah, and that's one of those very high-risk, high-reward plays where you get to burn quite a bit of time off the opponent's clock while catching them in a very tough position. But if you lose it, then as I mentioned, you're going to be suffering to get back to the point in time, especially with those Pharah and Lucio combos.
Right, and Alt 3 is going to be taking that into account. They've taken the point as quickly as possible in this instance, and they are going to remove their Brigitte counterpart. It's going to get rezzed immediately, though. That's going to be a resource down, and Alt 3 is going to make sure that that kill does not go unnoticed with a huge boop, somehow eliminating the D.Va entirely. Didn't even see that coming.
Yeah, however, it will be one tick still held here for the attacking team, so they do still make some progress off with that, and it seemed to be a relatively low ult investment fight. So the ults are looking pretty even. The rally going to be coming online a little bit sooner for the attacking team, so they do have that in their advantage as well as the nano boost. So there's definitely a lot of push potential. They just need to have one or two more solid pushes here.
Sir Waltham, I am genuinely still perplexed as to how a Lucio can kill both Baby D.Va and Demek in a single boop. However, that confusion is going to be dispelled for me, as so many ults get dispensed that simply wipes my mind clear of anything, as Alt 3 surges onto the point, trying to make most of their one-tick play, and with a D.Va bomb coming out and the barriers, that's going to be a no from Piñata Nation, who managed to hold point A once again with only a minute 50 left.
Yeah, most notably Glizzy getting perhaps a little too far forward, getting away from that Winston, who's not able to provide a whole lot of direct shielding himself aside from the bubble. and the rest of the team just absolutely going to capitalize on it. And as soon as the Ana anti-nade from One Trick lands onto Glizzy, they were pretty much fodder for the Sharks at that point.
Super dirty situation, both teams showing a really honestly even ult percentage, but it's gonna be Piñata Nation who's showing the propensity, or rather the dominance, in keeping this point from the ult 3. But here we go, that's gonna be the rally coming out from Pug. That's gonna be the first ult, and there goes One Trick. It's gonna be a nano onto a Reinhardt, who's gonna probably build his shatter way too quickly. Are we gonna see it? It's gonna come out! The shatter doesn't come out from the enemy team. It's going to be Garen OP who eliminates a D.Va, finishes up the kill, and only a minute left for ult 3 to take this Eichenwald point A.
Yeah, I think that the capping of the point will largely depend on Mr. Snesbit's ability to get the rocket barrage, as well as Mr. Salty's ability to matrix them, or even better, make the Pharaoh suicide with the D.Va jets. I think that's really is what it's going to come down to. If they can get some early kills, then that's going to be a huge advantage for all three.
Yeah, dirty situation, but here comes the grab, the bombs, the barriers. It's all going to happen, but Realmy's the one who picks up the picks. Getting Ana and the Zarya. Dark follows up on the Brigitte. Huge kills coming in for ult 3. That's going to be their entrance ticket onto point A on Eichenwald. The counter D.Va bomb comes out. It doesn't get anyone. It's mostly a stall. Ult 3 has a huge chance to take Eichenwald point A with maybe a little bit of time left on the clock.
Yeah, they will be getting a few more moments here. I guess my prediction about the Pharah a little bit wrong, not able to get any capitalization on that, in fact getting slept in mid-air. But then the D.Va bomb coming in from Realmy, just really doing work to get 2 kills in what looks like the Inn as well as the Ruins to both sides, so not actually on point it seemed.
When the hero picks confuse your enemy, possibly that can be the entrance you need. Yeah, maybe Pharah didn't necessarily do super quantities of work, but they were definitely there and they did their duty. Meanwhile, they're also going to be swapping out to a Widowmaker, which on point B for Eichenwald, definitely a solid choice.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing Dark popping that Primal, diving deep onto the castle, perhaps trying to cause a little bit of disturbance, allowing the cart to make its way through the gate and around that first turn. Overall, some good space purchase, even if it doesn't get any direct kills.
With that D-Mech, I love seeing a Widowmaker jump way too high in the air, get that snipe shot off, and then drop down on the ground, and then only later does it show up in the kill feed. Brilliant play from ult 3, showing some really dominant map control as they try to move this point to B, which honestly, like, as far as payload goes, this is a really dirty situation.
Yeah, and again, they can keep maintaining this high ground if they want, but now the cart's kind of in a position where it becomes less relevant. Only the Overarch able to really get any value from that high ground, and that's such a refined area. And again, the dive's just doing so well to keep that pressure onto the high ground.
And it's working. The barriers came out from Alti, showing that the pressure is on. Garen OP does manage to pick up the Hanzo, but now the kill's starting to come in huge for ult 3 as they rip apart the damage coming out from Piñata Nation. With only a D.Va and a Winston left to contest the payload, ult 3 may be looking at a much more smoother point B take than their point A struggle.
Yeah, and again, we might see the same position come out from the Widow if they are going to get a contester, which it doesn't look like it, but taking that high ground far away from your tanks who have to contest the point can be a pretty brutal position to have to take and defend against.
It's pretty dirty, and there it is with 2 minutes left on the clock. We've now entered into the phase. Will Piñata Nation manage to hold ult 3 to a perfect hold? And if both teams enter into overtime, we could be looking at a nifty little situation.
Yeah, the Dragon's going to be coming out to trying to divide the teams. However, it doesn't quite happen. Both, well, all of the defending team, going to be on the same side as the cart, able to defend, but kills are still going to go through.
I believe we've officially entered into the timing whereby ult 3 is incapable, unless they rip out some incredible team wipes, of finishing the map with time left on the clock.
Yeah, it's going to have to be very decisive in order to get those.
And there it is. The nano boost coming out to Garen OP. He's going to be doing his duty. D.Va bomb. D.Va bombs exchange, but Relny's the one who picks it up with Mr. Salty and Carty going down. Massive kills coming in for all 3. Unbelievable. Where was this on point A?
Yeah, I think, and there is the barrage. I think that despite most of it getting eaten by the defensive D.Va, Mr. Salty, you're still going to see them take it, and it's just going to be stalled to get the time banks as even as possible on this next push.
Piñata Nation almost had it in the bank, but it's alt 3. They are going to have to pull, Piñata Nation rather, is going to have to pull out as much stalls as they possibly can. But Piñata Nation is so close to finishing, or rather alt 3 is so close to finishing this map with time left on the clock, putting them at an incredible advantage over the Piñata Nation. They do it! Unbelievable!
Yeah, that's going to be still a very close attack for both teams. I think it was about 25-30 seconds difference between the two. Yeah, 25. Both teams are going to get a minute, but that's still giving them time to cap first point. And if they both cap first point, it's a contest of who can ride the payload longer.
Given how both teams had such a huge struggle to cap point A, again with alt 3 operating without a Reinhardt, Piñata Nation has such a huge chance at making this full hold happen. But it's honestly a minute 25 versus a minute. That's not really a significant difference, is it?
It's not. It's maybe the difference between one push if you're on the defense, and you have to be really disciplined to be able to call off your pushes really concisely to get that advantage.
I think it's going to come down to the ult generation between two teams. Which team is going to be able to, given the dives that are coming out, who is going to be able to make this happen? And it looks like alt 3 is taking the logical choice. They're going to be going with the Orisa Diva, which we see so much these days. And unfortunately for the Piñata Nation, it's going to be Glizzy on the Bastion, and this is going to be a filthy defense.
Yeah, one thing to note is that if this defense does fail for alt 3, that is going to be a lot of ult charge wasted if they have to swap off of these heroes. The Orisa, the Bastion, perhaps not looking the best on the second point unless you're able to get set up onto that high ground castle very early. It can be a very expensive mistake if they allow it to be.
And there they go. They've already been forced to rotate, but Mrs. Nesbit, quote-unquote, forced to eliminate a Lucio, and now that's half a minute left for Piñata Nation to make something of this push.
Yeah, and they're really doing well to pressure this Bastion. Pug going to be getting the kill on him, but it doesn't look like it's going to go their way yet.
Yeah, alt 3 maintaining a pick percentage, maintaining that numbers advantage. Alfie gonna pick up Lunaru, so no more reses, but with 12 seconds left, it's gonna be alt 3 switching to the stall comp, getting back to the point before they can get any advantage.
Yeah, both teams bring out that kind of stall Hammond. However, it doesn't look like Garen OP is able to get it in time.
Unbelievable, no! Piñata Nation, they couldn't get back onto the point in time to make it to that overtime, and that's going to be alt 3 now with their own chance. Now, this could still be a tie situation. We could be looking at a no victory for this map.
Yeah, indeed, and in which case it would still be prior choice from the last game, so it would still be on alt 3 to save hero ban map, and then conversely for Piñata Nation, but it's going to be a little bit of a contest here. They may have one more push if alt 3 is able to really concisely use those, but it's still a tough setup here.
It's a super difficult situation for either team to be in, and alt 3 without that Reinhardt to fuel what is most likely a solid GOATS composition, they're going to be going with a very delightful Winston Hog Divas quad tank. It's going to be quad tank with the Moira. Rarely do we see this kind of composition with Moira the only healer capable of providing the quantity of heals per second necessary for a quad tank situation.
Yeah, typically when we see the Moira meatball like this, it's most commonly seen on Horizon, and not typically with the dive tank Winston. You generally see it with the Reinhardt, the team able to move more as a unit and get more benefit from that Moira group burst healing. But they're still going to look to leverage the quad tank tactic here. Stringy Place, of course, going to be playing that Lucio to get the positioning as accurately as possible, or as precisely as possible.
So they're taking the sight lines as ultimately necessary. The healing orb is already out, and boom! Alt 3 is already on the point. They've initiated the engagement, and unbelievable no kills coming out from either side. Darren OP shields almost cracked, but Grizzly not able to get any major hooks. But there it is. Oh no, the hook comes out, but nothing happens. So alt 3 now too committed to this fight to back off. With 45 seconds left, this is possibly their only push left, and one trick gets Lucio early on.
Yeah, they really have to capitalize on this. As much as this comp can build quick ult charge for Moira, it can build quicker ult charge for the enemy team if they just slay all 4 tanks, giving those beefy health pools straight into the ult meters of the defending team.
Now, that being said, there's a lot of ults coming on for both teams. That fight lasted almost a little too long. With so much time, relatively speaking, left in the bank for all 3, that means there's going to be a bit of a fight. And Grizzly gets the first kill on Carty! No grab for anyone! The big grab comes out from Mrs. Nesbit! And that's going to be the Coalescence coming out on top of it with a Diva Bomb. And it's going to catch Ludinaru! Unbelievable! Major heal's gone!
Yeah, Ludaru perhaps playing that a little too close to the point, cutting that angle, and just absolutely going to get destroyed by that Diva Bomb. It is a brawl now, but it's not looking favorable for Piñata.
Unbelievable after so many kills and oh, it's such an incredible fight on Eichenwald. All 3's ultimately going to take it, but what a scrap.
Yeah, perhaps would have been the opportunity to try that flanking technique that they had in the first, I believe it was Piñata Nation, had in the first defense, where they just kind of had the Reinhardt and entire team tucked behind the offense and then just absolutely collapsed.
It's the situation where, when I think about the Anthem game coming out from EA and the Interceptor Javelin being so exciting to play but requiring so many APMs, just looking at that Genji play coming out from Pug, just the quantity of attention, clicks required to pull off Genji plays is incredible, and that's the kind of offense that is required for pushing through team fights. All 3, again, with their presence on the point, going to take Eichenwald. It's 2-0. They are going to enter into the situation of the winners once again. They must save a hero and ban a single map.
Yeah, overall, that was a pretty tactical pick coming through for Piñata, banning the Reinhardt, especially on this map. The interior especially, although it didn't really seem to slow alt 3 down on the first attack round. They were really able to kind of push into the castle really aggressively. I don't know if they had the cart stop for any more than like 30 seconds. And overall, we just did not seem bothered by the fact that they couldn't have that giant burly German man in his hometown.
Right, and again, unless Piñata Nation bans Reinhardt again, which Alt 3 now has the opportunity to save prior to the next map. Again, this is a best out of 5. We are looking at match point for Alt 3. They are going to save Lucio once again. They're going to ban Hanamura, meaning that more than anything, they really don't want to deal with that particular map. They've banned Hanamura twice now. They've probably are going to now switch to a ban on Horizon Lunar Colony, given their insistence on avoiding 2CP.
Yeah, or at least Hanamura, perhaps they know that that's a very Mei-strong map and they're not quite ready for it. But as you said, we're still going to see the ban come for Horizon, it looks like. So maybe they're just not a 2CP-friendly map team. And I mean, I can't blame them. 2CP can be so arduous when you just get stuck at that second point.
Indeed you do, and again, their insistence on saving Lucio indicates that their love of Reinhardt may be less... how do we say this? Might not be as intense as their love for having that nice little speed boost in area healing, which honestly, regardless of what hero you're playing, Goats, possibly, not necessarily their priority, Lucio gives an advantage no matter what composition you're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look at the map lists we have set up, sure, Reinhardt's relevant on some points, on a lot of them, but not nearly as much. You can still run dive on a lot of maps. Ilios, you can still try to dive the snipers on ruins. Lijiang, you probably want that Rhine for the control center point, but Gardens, I feel, can also get quite some value out of a Hammond or an Orisa comp, even without the Rhine. Dorado, you'd still like to see the dives on that second point, so you see the Winston value there. Route 66, perhaps, really the Streets phase is the most dive friendly, as far as I'm concerned. Rhine perhaps being a little more crucial in that third point, again, with the very confined spacings. And then Hollywood, pretty much a very similar story where we see the the streets phase kind of be the most crucial for dive, with the high ground being so easily accessible. But I think that having a Lucio provides so much more utility than having a Rhine would, because Lucio, as you said, is applicable in all of these situations.
And the most fascinating choice comes out from Piñata Nation. They are going to select Lijiang Tower, and they are going to ban Pharah, which means for 2 of these Pharah, or rather Lijiang Tower maps, Pharah will not be available to Alt 3, which honestly is an interesting situation. Lijiang Tower, while not necessarily a guaranteed Pharmacy map, is still one of the control point situations where a Pharmacy is pretty much a solid pick.
Yeah, in Lijiang Tower, there's so many different kind of niche picks you see come out, particularly in the control center. I think that and Horizon are some of the few situations in which you really consistently see Mei able to close off those choke points so heartily. Pharah doesn't really seem like a pick in there, and Night Market with the capture point being kind of indoorsy, it makes it a little bit hard for Pharah to really get some distance onto her opponents. So I'm curious as to what their thought process is here. Perhaps they just thought that Alt 3 was particularly good on the Pharah in Eichenwald, which a lot of times Eichenwald does give that impression if your team plays very well in general.
I would definitely not disagree with the decision to ban Pharah going into Lijiang Tower, assuming that was your initial choice. However, given this initial pick, definitely the right choice. Pharmacy is such a strong selection on this map, and not having access to it means Alt 3 will probably have to drastically reconsider their strategy here.
Indeed, and gotta plug it one more time while we're talking about considerations, folks. Don't forget to vote for the MVP of this game. Show the players your support. Show them that you appreciate what they're doing. Show them that you appreciate the games they're putting on for us. And go ahead and vote and tell us who you think is the best.
Definitely, please do. Let your voice be heard. Let the casters know who we should be focusing on, as again, this tournament is very long, and we have a lot of Overwatch to cover.
Indeed, we do want to bring the best experience, and so far, I think we're doing a pretty alright job, if I do toot our own horn, Threep.
I mean, with all seriousness, Sir Waltham, the Waltham 3 combo is pretty hardcore awesome. So that being said, let's give them something really hardcore to watch for this Lijiang Tower. With 10 seconds left, the comps are going to start getting solidified, and I'm seeing some really dirty choices, given the friggin' Pharah ban.
Yeah, Mr. Salty really going to be trying to take up that high ground advantage. There will be nothing really to contest except for perhaps Raylini on that D.Va to try to matrix as many barriers as possible, but it looks like Alt 3 going to kind of anticipate this and take the interior route instead.
So love seeing the choice of the Pharah when your opponent can't pick Pharah. That means your dog fighting is not needed, and there it is. Mr. Salty is going to pick up the kill on Lunaru. It's weird, like shooting rockets into the enemy composition bizarrely results in kills. Who'd have thunk it? And that's going to be Alt 3 again with that kill, sacrificing their entire selves, and Piñata Nation gets the point.
Yeah, even despite not being able to leverage that Pharah as much as you might like, as if they took the cliffside point, still able to get quite a bit of shots in. Garen OP on this Hammond, I look forward to seeing perhaps some great setups. The ground pound able to just lock people in place for enough time to get some big damage coming through.
Now, Mr. Salty is using that particular Pharah strategy of, why would I bother clicking my individual rockets when I can hold down left click and shoot them all? And that's going to prove in a particularly effective method of crapping damage down the main line. One trick picking up some incredible kills. Cardio on the Soldier 76, you don't really see that all that often. A consistent damage choice, raining hellfire into the line of Vault 3.
Yeah, indeed, we're going to be seeing One Trick have this Pulse Bomb that can give such an early advantage. You stick it onto a squishy like Lunaru or perhaps even Glizzy. Stringy place maybe if you're able to catch them. And then really just take out that back line and and your team can easily collapse on that 5v6, so have to keep an eye on that, see if they take that advantage with the pulse bomb.
A particularly dirty situation. Unbelievable! They get the Lucio off the bridge. It's gonna take him a while to skate himself back onto the plane. The barrage goes in. This is gonna get Reality. Is it gonna catch anyone else? No! It's gonna get the D-Mech, and Stringy Place is going to pick up the kill onto Mr. Salty. But more importantly, Piñata Nation is going to maintain control of the point as this fight goes on.
Yeah, we can kind of see the Hammond doing the typical Lucio style, Garen OP swinging around, just making it difficult to be shot. They're gonna have to be very careful if they want to maintain point, not to step off of it for too long. Alfie committing that Valk is going to be critical.
And a huge EMP going in. That's going to be pretty much the open season for Alt 3. Finally getting the advantage they need with a unbelievable massive dragons coming in from Punk. Who said that there was an advantage? Why is that even a thing? Unbelievable. Like, what is even going on? I don't understand anymore.
And for the third time this game, we're going to be seeing a D.Va eat a ultimate here. Mr. Salty going to be taking it for Mr. Snesbit, excuse me. But it doesn't look like it'll be enough. And right now they already have the 99. I think that Piñata Nation just be best to get off point, regroup, and come at it with a full team reset.
Yeah, Alt 3, despite all of their showings, has to commit literally every single ult they have in the bank other than a bomb to make sure the pick happens. So that's going to be Mr. Salty, again, with their own D.Va bomb, but no ults otherwise coming out from either team, but Lunaroo also going to be showing up with their own Valkyrie.
Yeah, that D.Va bomb going to be a little bit crucial. No Zarya grab to really combo it with this time, but we will see how the defending team on point is going to be able to really capitalize with it. Not really able to get any kills right off the bat.
And that's going to be a crappy situation for both teams, but that's going to be Piñata Nation coming up with the picks, and then it's a bit of a scrappy fight. Lunaroo getting the res onto their main tank, going to be a little bit of the source of the shields coming in, but Piñata Nation has a very definitive point control presence set up.
Yeah, we are looking at the point progresses here, already halfway to completion for Alt 3. And it's going back and forth. You really want to get some conversion onto the point if you're Piñata Nation.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be Alt 3 picking up the vast majority of the kills there. They're going to be forcing away, despite some last-minute staggers. Piñata Nation has to retreat with their ults in tow, and Dark switching over to a Reinhardt, eliminating that ult charge. Possibly, we're looking at Piñata Nation's taking this point.
Yeah, and to their credit, Piñata Nation having quite a bit of ults on the line, able to force out the EMP as well as the sound barrier, I believe, a little bit earlier in the fight. So they're going to be trying to take the long route and get some early advantage here with that Earth Shatter.
Yeah, and here we go. They're setting up on that, and that's going to be Reality going down first. No, but in a Stringy Place. What the hell? A boop for the ages. And now the scrap fight is in with barriers going down on only 4 of the members of Piñata Nation, but the kills coming in for days with Lunaroo trying to get with a Valkyrie. Possibly a res, but the grab there, that's going to be a huge EMP. Unbelievable from Glizzly. It's difficult keeping track of all these points, but now both teams are 99%. Whoever wins this team fight is going to be taking this point home.
Yeah, this is going to be literally last point. That Sombra EMP doing some massive work, however, does not look like it's quite enough to win the fight outright. And it's looking like Alt 3 going to have to be very careful here. Kills starting to come through more dominantly for Piñata Nation, at least after losing quite a few people.
Yeah, and it looks like the stacks and the kills are going to be favoring Piñata Nation as the Shatter comes in and catches unbelievably members of Piñata Nation, and that's going to be another resurgence from Alt 3. This is still the scrap fight for the ages as Puss engages in the ever so popular Hammond point defense.
Yeah, One Trick really trying their hardest to keep them up, and they need to start closing these kills on either side if this point wants to get closed one way or another.
This might possibly be one of the longest Lijiang Tower stalls that I've ever seen. Both teams at 99% with Alt 3 in control of the point, but the grab dot comes out. That's going to be grabbed, ultimately killing Glizzy. That's going to be huge. And Pug pile driving and barriers coming out from Alpha, catching every single member of Piñata Nation. Huge. I think we're going to see the point switch any minute now. They're going to be popping over with overtime percentage, however, favoring the Alt 3. Point switching, overtime goes down. That's going to be the first round of Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, Glizzy not quite able to get on point quick enough. Pug doing a smart mine drop on one half of the point, meaning that pretty much the enemy team won't be able to walk into that direction, and really just having to stay within a given half means that your team's able to focus them down. They can't just keep rotating around the point like we see the Hammonds and the Lucios do. It's going to be a lot harder if you don't want to get blown to smithereens.
I honestly can't even begin to explain how exciting this is for us because Lijiang Tower and especially control plane maps don't tend to go that easily. And that kind of excitement is bad for my heart. So maybe let's just go into this next map with some goats. And of course, we're going to see a Mei on one team.
Yeah, Mei able to really lock down those characters. You want to be careful of that. It looks like Piñata Nation going to take the interior route, get directly on the point, and the Mei able to utilize that by getting some separation going here.
There it is. The wall goes in there, but unfortunately they're not going to give it any traction from it. Mrs. Nesbit, the wife of the Nesbit party, starting up the kill fiasco, and that's going to be Alt 3 taking this Lijiang Tower map very early on.
Yeah, indeed. Perhaps Garen OP charging a little bit too aggressively there, doesn't land the pin onto anybody, and then gets focus fired down right as they hit the wall. Not really a lot you can do in that situation when you just have a giant target painted on your back against this brawly comp.
Yeah, can't really attribute that to anything other than possibly a bit of unluck, maybe some Mei wall action going on. They have switched off to the Mei wall. We're looking at mirror comp. Now it's going to be who runs the best Zenyatta goats. And it looks like, given this particular boop, it's going to be Alt 3 generating more of the kills than anyone, as Bunaru, with their incredible accuracy and a shatter coming out very early from Dark. It's going to be Alt 3's dominance on this map.
Yeah, once again, the Pharah pick not really seeming to hamper them. When you go goats versus goats and you pick goats later than your opponent, you're going to be down an ult advantage, and that can be a really difficult obstacle to overcome. At this point, Piñata's just going to have to kind of grind out those ults to get on even footing, try to be conservative with them, and try to really do some dry pushes, get those ults out from the defending team.
Massive grab coming out from Mrs. Nesbitt, the Diva Bomb, the Zenyatta. Nothing of it's going to result in kills. A counter grab now coming out from Cardi, though. Let's see if that results in anything important. Nothing does. It's going to be kills going back and forth, with neither team managing to really solidify a solid map control, except for the fact that Alt 3 continues to maintain their control of the point and really surges forward to countering Piñata Nation's victory on that first match.
Yeah, Garen OP really going to have to perhaps be the playmaker here, trying to really outplay Dark, as well as trying to get Stringy in that Earth Shatter should they decide to pop at this fight, which I imagine they will. It's looking like it might be the last fight. If they're able to do that, they'll be able to get the team without the sound barrier. However, it doesn't look like it's going to land.
Oof, the Shatter goes right into a shield, but One Trick, aiming for heads, rips apart all the shield holders of the enemy team, and that's going to be Piñata Nation's opportunity to possibly take control of this point, and it looks like they are going to seize it in the last minute, despite Alt 3 getting pretty much within one fight territory.
Yeah, in this game we've seen some very aggressive Zenyatta play, both Luna and One Trick getting some very solid orb damage in, going to help you building charge, and the Transcendent's going to be online for One Trick. Might be the fight winner that they need, especially with Mrs. Nesbit having that grab online.
Yeah, Piñata Nation is going to have to play their cards very close to the chest, as Alt 3 only has one fight to win, but does this Diva Bomb make it so? Nay. Instead, it's Garen OP making sure that the point stays in control of Piñata Nation, as they definitely force back Alt 3's latest push.
Yeah, Garen OP perhaps being a little bit wiser about their charges, waiting for the grab to set up, knowing that the enemies can't dodge, and then going for the pin, the big damage onto the, I believe it was the Rhine, and just uncontested. It was some solid coordination.
Love seeing that. Old economies from both sides looking really good. Big Shatter goes in, but it's gonna get caught, unfortunately, from Garen OP. Now the Trans goes in. That's gonna be their opening big grab. Is it gonna result in anything? That's gonna be a charge. Does it result in a kills? No. nothing happens as of yet. Both teams vying for control of the point. We're going to see ultimates coming out from both sides, and it's going to be Pug opening with the kill onto Dark. Barriers now enforcing Piñata Nation's hold onto this point on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, and really, as soon as we saw that Rhine from Dark kind of fall, it was the writing on the wall for that push for Alt 3. They didn't really have the ability to take positioning. They had the Brig shield, but that is not quite enough when you have so many other players just barreling down on top of you.
Yeah, pretty much filthy. And now we're going to see, with almost only ults being held by Alt 3, can the Piñata Nation hold on with a limited ults? And they're going to preemptively grab. Barriers comes in. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it is. The Shatter goes in. It doesn't catch anyone, but unfortunately the kicks start coming in. Darko's going to go down first, and Cardi following. And unbelievably, One Trick is going to have ults coming in incredibly from Piñata Nation, and the kills are going to follow it. This could be their big opportunity to take a map and make this a huge upset in terms of Overwatch potential.
Yeah, definitely some massive kills coming through, especially with that grab getting it off before they, I believe it was Cardi able to get that grab off before it was too late. And this is again going to come down to just a very long stall. Railing going to be the last one.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. We have ourselves a match. Piñata Nation takes the map from Alt 3, and this is officially a game.
Yeah, I believe that, at least for myself, this is going to be the first 4-game match I've casted in this tournament. Very excited to see it. I love casting some good Overwatch, and I think that when the games are this close, especially as we saw on Gardens, you really can just get the most out of it from watching these teams.
Emphasis on the fact that despite the play of the game that we saw coming out from Alt 3's stringy place with some absurd environmental kills, we are going to be seeing a 2-1 Alt 3 with 2 maps, Piñata Nation with 1. They're going into map number 4. Piñata Nation manages to take this. They will go into map 5 for the ultimate tiebreaker. However, this is Alt 3's still match point. And that being said, Piñata Nation, after Alt 3 saves a hero and bans a map, Piñata Nation will get to once again ban a hero for this next map.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good that Piñata Nation was able to pick up a map, but their backs are against a wall. They have to win 2 more maps with heroes being banned from their team. That is going to be expensive. We do, however, know that there's only one more control type map with Ilios being on the docket, so they'll probably want to save Lucio in case that map comes up, because it's just so overpowering if you don't have that Lucio on control point.
Right, and I misspoke. Since Piñata Nation won that Lijiang Tower map, it's up to them to ban a map and save a hero. Alt 3, on the other hand, Alt 3 is, for the first time in this particular matchup, going to have the opportunity to ban a hero, and then, being on the defensive, going to select the next map for play. A very disastrous situation for Piñata Nation, who must win this next map in order to continue their victory tour.
Yeah, indeed. And these teams are really fighting and giving it their all here. We will not be seeing Ilios come out, at least on this 4th map, similar map types not being able to be played back to back. So perhaps we will be seeing it for the 5th map if that is the case. But another map we certainly won't be seeing, going to be Hollywood. We have now exhausted all of our hybrid maps.
Indeedy do. And honestly, given the possible perception of the upset, Piñata Nation coming in on Alt 3 like that, this could be the situation where Alt 3 doesn't necessarily know how they want to play this out. Piñata Nation is going to have the initiative here. They are going to save a hero. They're going to be the ones to ban a map. We have eliminated entirely the 2CP mode. That being said, Piñata Nation now has the opportunity to ban even more. And given that, though, that still leaves a pretty hefty map pool for Alt 3 to pick from. But Piñata Nation will then say they want to save a hero in face of Alt 3's ban.
Yeah, very much so. The 2 maps currently up for availability, since all the assault maps as well as the control point maps and hybrid maps have been exhausted, is pretty much going to be Dorado and 66. And it looks like Dorado is going to be the choice of for the next round. So we're going to be seeing that come through with no Rhines for Piñata Nation.
Yeah, super crazy situation, and there it is. Alt 3 is going to ban Reinhardt for Piñata Nation, but that means Alt 3 can still run Reinhardt on Dorado. Now the big question is, Piñata Nation, or rather, yes, they have to select their side. Are they going to stay on defense, or are they going to start with the offense, setting the pace for the map? And that could be huge. Without that Reinhardt, they are going to defend first. Piñata Nation going to be flipping over from the red onto the blue. So we're going to have Piñata Nation and blue defending first, with Alt 3 attacking first on red. But Alt 3 has no Reinhardt.
Yeah, Piñata Nation not going to be having that Reinhardt, as they did win the previous map, the ban coming in from Alt 3. So overall, it's going to be tough. I imagine that first point choke with the overpass going to be a bit of a difficulty, a specific hurdle that I anticipate the teams might have to come out with. Not necessarily so on the defense. The Orisa can potentially be used to utilize high ground very efficiently, but we're going to have to see how it plays out here. Once again, I thought the Reinhardt was going to be crucial on Eichenwald, and it did not seem to stop Alt 3, so maybe Piñata Nation having that same carrying capacity.
Now again, with Dorado, you get that situation where the defending team initially has the opportunity to run some very disgusting stalling compositions. There's a particular Rhine May Orisa comp that you can run inside that little initial hut, so to speak. And it can be pretty frustrating to break up, and unless you have the composition on offense to destroy it, usually involving a Junkrat, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I believe we did see that strategy come through for one of our last, or well, rather, one of the first games of the last tournaments. I think it was Maximized or Rebind, who pulled out that May comp and ended up stalling for the better half of 3 minutes before the team could even get the cart past the first turn. So it could be really crucial. So I think we're going to see it come through here and check out how it plays.
So the big situation is, Piñata Nation, have they practiced this particular composition? And if they haven't, given that they've banned Alt 3 from having that Reinhardt again, what are they going to follow up with? But no, it's actually going to be Alt 3 banning the particular heroes. And they've confirmed the hero bans, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be seeing coming out from Piñata Nation one of the most classic dives in Overwatch. We have the Widow, the Pharmacy, the Winston Diva. I friggin' love it.
Yeah, the Widowmaker able to utilize a lot of rooftops here for different sight lines. Could be set up on the balcony facing the most direct spawn entrance or exit, depending on whichever way you're going. Could be setting up on the typical, what I call the Orisa ledge, where you generally see the Orisa or Reinhardt just hold their shield and post up. Could set up in the windowsill above the overpass. A lot of angles for the Widow, allows them to reposition very easily if they're on the defense.
Yeah, it's a dirty situation, and here we are going to see the teams engage very early with some very nasty... Oh, and here we go, some quick switches coming in from all three, who have decided that, nay, they don't want to play this fight. Mr. Nesbitt switching onto the Widowmaker. We're going to see double sniper dive coming in, and that's going to be a very old Overwatch strategy. But for Dorado, it super works given the sight lines that you have available.
Yeah, and again, Mr. Salty doing great to deflect that Winston dive by Dart coming onto the roof, using the Diva boosters to kind of knock them off just a little bit, going to discombobulate the jump there, just perhaps enough to prevent the kills from coming through onto Garen OP.
Yeah, I like how Alt 3 is playing this particular map. They're making sure that they maintain as much map presence as possible. They are going to suffer the first DMEC in the fight, though, however, and that's going to be Piñata Nation's entrance into the fight with a massive 6 versus 5.5, so to speak. And the payload stopped in its most popular choke point at Dorado. They're going to have a tough time, that is Alt 3 pushing this through.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you take out that Diva, it gives Pug a little bit more range. They still have to be careful because of Mrs. Nesbitt on that Widow, but still, without that Diva to really gobble up all those rockets, at least in full form, as we see here, just going to absolutely come through.
Unfortunately, though, it looks like all three going to come out on top of that. A Diva Bomb's going to go in. They're going to catch no one. And Rylan is actually going to pick up Mr. Salty before they can get back into their mech. Now, Garen OP is going to pick up Grizzly, and that's going to be both snipers down for all three. So can this push go any further? It's going to be a negatory.
Yeah, it looks like Garen going to be contesting with Dark a little bit. Dark getting perhaps a few more inches, but going to be pulling out in the end. And right now, it's looking like all three going to be a little bit more flush with ults than their competitors.
Yeah, the Piñata Nation had to sacrifice just a little too much to make that push happen. Lunaru is going to pick up the Resurrection onto Dark, who has their Primal Rage ready to go. We're going to see that come out absolutely in this fight. Dragon's going to come out now from Grizzy. And Mrs. Nesbit, possibly from a result, is going to, with a barrier, is going to, with a Mercy Boost, going to pick up the one trick, but one trick going to get rezzed, and Pug's going to pick up Mrs. Nesbit as a result. Piñata Nation showing an incredible defense on this Dorado choke.
Yeah, showing to be very resilient. Usually once that cart gets past the overpass, especially towards the center loop of Dorado first point, you see a little bit less control being able to come in through the defense, but it looks like they're actually using the double sniper comp to kind of play into their advantage, as it does provide even less angles for those two twin snipers to go through.
Oof, and a Diva Bomb goes in, not going to grab anyone, but this is, again, going to be the opportunity of all three to grab many kills. That's going to be tanks, healers down. Alt 3 has a huge man advantage and a huge advantage, resource advantage here. Pug going to do their best to contest on the point, grabbing their deflect. It's not going to be enough. It's going to be massive cart percentage, or progress rather, for Alt 3.
Yeah, Piñata Nation's still getting quite a bit of stall. They're probably going to be ending this point with about, well, rather, all three will be ending this point with about 30 seconds left on the clock. Going to get an extra 2.5, so there's still, neither team is really doing too bad from that section of the map.
It's one of those situations where when you actually complete this first point of Dorado, you're genuinely happy. Yeah, this is decent. Well done. You did good work. Now the trick is, can you get a map completion out of this? That's going to be all three's biggest challenge as they go through the rest of it.
And the Nano Blade going to be coming out some massive combo potential here.
And Pug, unbelievable! Dashing, killing more than anyone else, but unfortunately for all three, that's going to be the kills needed to stop this push at a very disgusting choke point on Dorado.
Yeah, worth noting that because One Trick is the only main healer on that there will be no res, so it will be all the defenders having to make the long trip back to spawn, or back to point rather.
Yeah, nasty situation. But unfortunately, Piñata Nation, or rather all three, is going to be able to push the payload a little bit further, despite the dragons coming out, which aren't going to catch anyone in particular. But a rage on the point, Garen OP is going to do nothing more than generate some ultimate percentage. But a big Demon Bomb comes out, that's going to grab Glizzly. That's, again, big bit of a pop. But again, the unbelievable res is too strong.
Yeah, speaking of too strong, that Diva Bomb coming up absolutely massive from Raylene. Going to just absolutely clean up the support line.
And the minute we think Alt 3 has met their match in a bit of a defense, they're going to push the payload even further than before. And one of the longer presses on Dorado in any hybrid or rather escort map, with only a minute 10 left, they're going to come up very close on point B here.
Yeah, Garen going to be doing a little bit of work to stall the cart, perhaps trying to give his team as much an advantage as possible. But the Widow Fate trade's not going to go that way for the defense.
Mrs. Nesbit picking up the headshot on Carty, demonstrating their capability for that particular 1v1. But Pug, again, just when they activate Blade, it's time for the payload to stop, and stop it has.
Yeah, Genji Blade activation is certainly the right phrase, because they are a killing machine when they pull out that katana, just absolutely cutting people left and right. I think we saw 2 or 3 kills come out each time that Pugs used that blade with the nano.
And that's pretty much the way you have to say it. but unfortunately for the defense, they're only going to have the barriers coming in. Meanwhile, it's going to be a Valkyrie. The sights have already been called in a Primal Rage. Coupling with that, barriers maybe possibly on the way. But with 10 seconds left, that possibly maybe only what they need to get this point B. Big defense coming in. Barriers now coming in from Alfie. Didn't even see that coming. That's going to be Grizzly with a huge anti-nade. Barriers now coming in. The defense strutting their stuff.
Yeah, really crucial for Alfie to drop that barrier, giving Mr. Salty enough time to build up that ult charge and getting the self-destruct. Not going to find anything off of it, but still buying some time off the clock.
I don't even know how Realny does it anymore. They've got the D-Mech, they get the Pug, and there's going to be a Nano Boost coming in from one trick. They are going to dish it out, but on that Winston. But are the kills going to come in? Nay, and it's going to be pretty much an even straight, but the anti-nade comes in and Glizzy's going to be the one who falls to Garen OP. It's a pulled on point B.
Yeah, massive worth noting Garen OP doing a whole lot of work with that on a nade, with all the advantages coming onto them to just really stay on point and provide as much defense as possible and needed.
Nobody could have ever expected El Dorado point B. Unbelievable! It's incredible! They hold it! Piñata! Ridiculous. Piñata Nation does hold it before all three can push it to the point B.
Yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, there are 2 points in this map that Piñata Nation are going to have to worry about now that they are have their line in the sand drawn, so to speak. They're going to have to worry about that overpass on first point, where they themselves got quite a bit of good hold. I believe they chipped 3 minutes off the clock there. So that's something you're going to have to be conscious about as well once they start rolling down Streets phase. If they get stalled towards the back end of Streets phase, especially if they're not able to contest that higher ground, it can be a time killer because the respawn walkbacks are just so long. So they're going to have to keep eyes out for just those 2 points, I anticipate. And if they're able to make it through, it'll be an easy win for them.
We might even be seeing the situation where Piñata Nation decides to throw out the legendary pirate ship, which on Dorado does not necessarily work as well as it does on Junkertown on other maps, but is a definitively viable strategy. That being said, from the defense coming out from Alt 3, we're not going to see the Mei. We're going to see possibly the literally most traditional GOATS comp possible, with the Rein Zarya Diva, but a Moira filling in the gap between the Brigitte and the Lucio. That being said, they have no methodology of stopping the point from Piñata Nation with their incredible dive.
Yeah, but one thing we're going to have to watch out for, Pug, who was so efficient at getting those massive kills earlier, going to be hard countered by Glizzy. With that shield bash, going to be able to really kind of stop that Genji in place. It's going to be something that he's going to have to watch out for.
So Lunaru doing incredible work. Genji's deflect from Pug means nothing against a beam that bypasses all. And that's going to be the push very defeated very early. And oh, wow. Ooh, massive switches coming out from Piñata Nation. We got the Pharmacy, the Hammond, a no shields DPS composition coming in.
Yeah, no shields, quad DPS, a lot of options that are going to be run here. And it looks like the defense trying to run that interior strategy we talked about earlier.
Yep, the payload is definitively stopped, and until that Reinhardt shield goes down, until the heroes in that little bunker are defeated, it's going to be no progress for Piñata Nation.
Yeah, indeed, it is going to be a lot of impact coming from Mr. Salty. That will be the tanks down. That is really the advantage they needed to get this thing rolling and get them get the defending dislodged.
Yeah, I am amazed that Mr. Salty managed to live through that barrage in its entirety. Cardi unbelievable, getting a ridiculous 4.5k, getting the D-Mech as well as the final kill. Really, I guess you can call it a 5k. Unbelievable power, switching onto the McCree at exactly the right moment, building up their ultimate. That's a lot of again, the damage potential coming out now from Piñata Nation is exactly what you need to beat that Dorado hold.
Yeah, and luckily they will be able to get it through this overpass area, which, as I said, can be a real bugbear to deal with if you're not quite equipped, or especially if you're down in ultimates or resources in general, time being perhaps the most crucial once you start to feel that pressure. But we're gonna have to see how they go through the rest of this play.
Interesting situation. The Data gets thrown out before the Diva gets demeched. Is it going to result in anything? It does ultimately not. Barriers is also going to come out from the defense, meaning more difficult kills from Piñata Nation. The Barriers is going to go out, but no ultimates resulting. And the payload moves, and the kills are really going to start coming in now for Piñata Nation. It's going to be ultimately, however, a scrappy fight.
Yeah, the kills keep going back and forth. Piñata Nation doing their best. Doesn't look like they'll have a whole lot of ults going into the next fight, but that might be okay for them because they're looking like they're going to still get first point.
Yeah, Mr. Salty, ridiculous dominance on the Diva, showing not only to their counterpart, but to the rest of the team of Ult 3 that this match not only is not decided, but boy can they ever take it on in a one-on-1v duel.
Yeah, as well, Cardi doing really well to make sure that Winston by Dark is really kind of kept in check. And Winston we saw going for the dive, however, Flashbang came out, fanned the hammer, had to get out of there, wasn't quite able to, and that really opened up the lines for the attacking team.
So interesting situation. Alt 3 is looking at a much higher alt pool, and there it is. They're going to throw the dragons onto the point. They're not going to get a lot of success from it, and now the rest of the team is going to have to try and capitalize on a unsplit team. But Piñata Nation is maintaining their integrity, and despite the Diva Bomb coming out from Mr. Salty, though, neither team is going to really see a lot of advantage from this very brawly team fight on the point.
Yeah, and we see Cardi in the back trying to get those sightlines, trying to really get advantage, not quite able to leverage it, however. In this kind of composition, you really need the Widow to be explosive and get those power pack hits very early in order to get the necessary leverage.
Interesting situation, Mrs. Nesbit and Carty not really engaging in a Widow 1v1 duel, instead trying to focus on the enemy tanks. Unfortunately for Alt 3, it's going to be Piñata Nation's Carty who manages to demech and dethrone the tank line from Alt 3.
Yeah, and that was really the best peel back they could have done. I think that if they waited any longer, they would be pushing too much to get onto point. Would have been a tough spot, but this Ryan gonna really be putting the pressure on, I'm sure.
And watch the one trick of Nano on Pug. Here it comes. They have the Nano Blade. Possibly there it is. Boom! There it goes. Boom! Grizzly goes down. Lunaru follows immediately after the Diva Bomb goes in, but Dark's gonna follow after. Unbelievable play. And that's gonna be it, ladies and gentlemen. Piñata Nation takes the point from Alt 3 with an incredibly timed Nano Blade.
Well, it certainly is going to be the 5-round game. Piñata Nation perhaps going for the ultimate reverse sweep we'll be seeing here. And overall, I couldn't be more excited. And one thing you'd like to highlight is Pug knowing exactly who to target with that blade right off the bat, knowing that the Brig can counter them so efficiently. So making sure to dive the Glizzy on that Brig, really cleaning up any chance they have of being stopped in that situation. Overall, some solid play, and they're going to get the map win for it. Rightly so, perhaps, off the back of that blade. However, we now will be seeing, once again, the saves come out for Piñata Nation. Overall, they've shown a lot of flexibility on a lot of different heroes. The Goats comp, perhaps not as favorable for them. I think that once we saw the Genji come out, it was a little bit more efficient. Pug able to clean up quite a bit with those blades. But I don't know necessarily if Alt 3 is looking to ban just that one DPS. The Tracer perhaps not proving as beneficial for the team. So it's going to be a curious choice here. The last map we are going to be going up will be Ilios, as the rest have been locked out. Route 66 unable to be played because we just played Dorado. Now, Ilios, what are your impressions, Threep?
Ilios is one of those maps where you get such an incredible quantity of compositions. You have Boop Comp, you have Quasi Boot Comp, but then you have Ruins, which just opens it up to some incredible Widowmaker play, which both teams have shown that they are willing to engage in.
Yeah, I think that if you're Piñata Nation, you like the fact that it's Ilios, because if you get one clutch hero banned from this map, then you still have an entire gambit to pick from on the other submaps. The only exception maybe being that Lucio that we mentioned before. You don't want to lose him. You really want that positioning capability right out of the gate. We're still waiting on Piñata to save a hero, but I would be very surprised if they don't save the Lucio.
Oh yeah, and honestly, for almost every Ilios situation, Lucio is going to be practically mandatory. But that being said, if they save the Lucio and Alt 3 has the ban following up after that, I think Alt 3 is almost going to guaranteed ban the Reinhardt. And yes, here it comes. Piñata Nation is going to guaranteed ban the Lucio. Or rather, sorry, Piñata Nation will save the Lucio, meaning that Piñata Nation will definitely get to run Lucio.
Yeah, it's going to be probably the wisest call, I'd say. But it looks like Alt 3 kind of learned their lesson. They're actually going to be banning Pug on that Genji. So folks at home, I apologize. I was a little bit of a mislead. I guess they do see the value in kind of leading up that Genji, really neutralizing the potential for those Nano Blade combos, especially, and it kind of makes sense on those heavy sniper maps where a Genji can just absolutely tear up your snipers if they're not paying attention.
I find it super difficult to say anything with regards to Alt 3's choice on banning the Genji. Pug has just shown some incredible Genji play. And you can argue for days that, hey, maybe they've been enabled by their healers or whatnot, or yada, yada, yada. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter how many nano boosts you apply to a Genji, they have to be able to enact the mouse sensitivity based twitches and plays. And there's a lot of muscle memory that goes into it. And that being said, I don't blame Alt 3 at all in the slightest for banning that Genji. Now, we are going to go to Ilios, however, and that means while Piñata Nation can't run a Genji, Alt 3 is certainly capable of doing so.
Yeah, I look forward. One thing that I would have considered, perhaps, if you want to neutralize the Genji blade, maybe take the Ana away. I believe it was One Trick who was running the Ana, and the Genji, if he's going to be going into a Goats comp, still has to contend with that Brig. So perhaps Alt 3 having a little bit more faith that they can deal with an Ana component of the Genji blade over the Genji portion of the Genji Nano blade. So I'm curious and anxious to see how this turns out for them. Alt 3, I think this game is going to come down to a lot of counter picking. They do have kind of the advantage here since they're working with one hero more in their hero pool.
Right, it's an interesting situation where, okay, cool. Pug in the side of Piñata Nation has been banned from playing Genji. Awesome. That being said, literally everything else is up for grabs.
Yeah, indeed, and it's quite a bit of a choice here. I'm curious to see what Pug will decide to run. So we're gonna see how it plays out. Really looking forward to seeing it. In general, I think that this opens up a lot more a lot more different combos than the ones we previously saw from the side of Piñata Nation. But there's always that chance we're just gonna see goats again.
Right, and again, for this particular map, Lighthouse on Ilios, Goats is a really solid choice. So faulting either team for playing Goats, really, it's kind of gauche. It's kind of a faux pas, so to speak. But if I saw anything other than Goats, I would be super happy.
And provided we're not being debated right now, Pug looking like they may not want to be running part of that, but we'll see. We'll have to let it play out. Not going to speak too early. Switching on to that Widow. And if you're able to get one of the off supports as that Widow, it can absolutely cripple a Goats comp.
Yeah, Piñata Nation left in the blue. It looks like they're going to be seeing a nasty little Widowmaker. Of course, that's not the case. They're going to be switching to a Zenyatta Goats. It's going to be mirror comp from both sides. Let's see which Zenyatta Goats is going to be capable of taking this Lighthouse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really Goats v Goats. There's not much to say about it other than the team that swings better and perhaps coordinates their abilities a little bit better is going to win.
Yep. But unfortunately for both teams, Piñata Nation is going to be the one that takes control of the point. First off, they're going to have that presence, they're going to have their shield up, they're going to be ready to go, and as the poke battle continues, it's going to be up to who demolishes that Reinhardt shirt first. It's going to be Darks. Dark goes down first. Their shield is no longer, their Discord orb is on them, and that's going to be no Reinhardt shield for the majority of Alt 3, and that's going to be, again, the point going to Piñata Nation.
Yeah, Miss Nesbit getting that grab insanely early, however, going to be falling after using it. That's super good play, followed up by super unfortunate death. Miss Nesbit getting that grab so quickly, but then to burn it and still not get the point. Now Cardi's going to be having the grab for the second push, as well as quite a slew of other ults for the team Piñata Nation. It's gonna be a tough push without that grab.
Mrs. Nesbit generating grabs so quickly was literally a lesson in Zarya, and literally everyone who plays Zarya should have paid attention to that. However, literally everyone who follows Team Comp should have noticed that there was no follow-up available and that it was not going to be the thing that happened in this particular fight. As the barriers come in, the Shatter goes into a shield, but the counter Shatter comes out. It's going to catch Dart, and this is going to be the resurgence of Piñata Nation, who with their superior ultimate placement and a massive ult economy are going to solidify their dominance on Ilios.
Yeah, and it looks like they were trying to get a little bit aggressive there. Not a bad call if you think you'd be able to close the kill onto Mrs. Nesbit. Resetting that Zarya charge can be sometimes more crucial than just getting the stagger, because you prevent that Zarya from building ult charge so fast, which, as we saw, Nesbit definitely capable of doing.
Oh, hells yes. And again, massive grab coming in now. It's going to be kills coming in left and right. Who's going to get it? Not the Diva Bomb. Reality drops their own Diva Bomb. That's not going to get any kills either. The trans is coming in, but it's going to be Cardi who draws first blood on Dark, eliminating, again, a 2000 HP Rhine Shield from the side of Alt 3, who is going to be drastically in a bad position as the big Shatter comes in and the kills start piling up as really Piñata Nation just ultimately solidifies their hold on this Ilios Lighthouse map, leading to a 1-0.
Yeah, Piñata Nation definitely flexing a little bit. Definitely perhaps took a little bit of time to get their muscles stretched out, but now looking dominant as ever. And I think that was just some really good play. Perhaps maybe a few slip-ups from the team of Alt 3. But in the end, I think that these teams are still pretty evenly matched, and depending on how these next few maps turn out, you're not going to be kicking yourself too much over that one sub-map.
Oh yeah, this is definitively anyone's game, especially given that we are going to the well. And boy, is the well devoid of any conventional strategy, given that any one team could come out with the most prolific boop comp imaginable and turn this around entirely.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a little bit more of a cheese-based comp coming out from Piñata Nation. The pulled pork, as we like to say, going to be coming out against the Goats comp. That Pharah able to leverage, once again, a lot of damage, a lot of concussion blasts to really dislocate the Goats team to perhaps areas they wouldn't want to necessarily be located in.
Indeed, the rotation coming in from Alt 3, showing that they have a general understanding of how Alt 3 might have been. But Tifa comes in! It's gonna catch Royalty, and the hook pulls them into the well! Huge tank loss from Alt 3 as they now have to struggle on this Ilios point without an incredible, valuable of the defense matrix, and it's gonna show as, unbelievably, Piñata Nation rips apart the remainder of their hero composition.
Yeah, and once again, once that Diva goes down, Pug able to just rain fire from on high with pretty much no contestation. Not a whole lot of tanks capable of dealing with that except for that Diva. Maybe a Roadhog if you get a massive hook, but we're not going to be seeing that too much coming from the side of Alt 3. Nesbit looking to switch over, though. That's perhaps the best. If you can get that high noon, get the Mercy and Pharah down one shot, that could be fight swinging.
But unfortunately, that means Pug's barrage is going to be completely uncontested. No Diva, the hook goes out. It's going to be completely denied by a shield. That means everyone has a chance, but the barrage comes in. It doesn't get any kills. But that's going to be, again, Piñata Nation's open season. Ah, no, Reality dies by stun grenade, the ultimate of shames.
Yeah, even Pug getting able to be brought back into the fight, that will be crucial. Was able to not really leverage that rocket barrage too much, or perhaps they just their teammates got to it too quickly. But now Glizzy going on to this Pharah, not really going to have that Mercy. Well, as I say, that Stringy going to be switching, so will be a dogfight in air. Pharah going to be gunning while the Mercy just keeping them up, and looking a little closer to mirror comps right about now.
The big difference being Carti on the rather not Carty, but Mr. Salty with the Reinhardt. They are going, the Roadhog. That hook is going to be a huge difference, and there it is. They're going to pick up Relny. The quantity of damage plus the hook that they can bring out is going to counter Dark Shield. They're never going to have it up, and the trans, despite that coming in, it's going to be Piñata Nation maintaining dominance of the point and bringing this fight into one-fight territory for their victory of the entire match.
Yeah, and despite Dark getting a very nice grab onto Mr. Salty, their entire front line will fall, and it is going to be a tough spot for all three to get onto point, and we're going to have to see if they even can at this rate.
This is a filthy stall, and they're not going to be getting it to overtime, but there it is! Relly's going to manage to pull their way onto the point, forcing an overtime, and Pug, however, is going to do their duty. They're going to eliminate Dark, and the kill is going to come in massively for Piñata Nation, and it's going to be a big overall. Cardi unbelievably getting an incredible 3.5K, and that's going to be Piñata Nation taking the point and ultimately taking the match right from the clutches of Alt3 despite their initial early showing.
And as far as I know, Threep, that is our first reverse sweep of the month. That was looking very highly in favor of Alt3, but really once Piñata Nation got their bearings, like I said, they got set up, they figured out what they wanted to do, and not to discredit a lot of effort coming in from Pug on those DPS heroes, the Pharah, the Genji, even the Brig every once in a while. Some massive turnaround potential and massive turnaround effects coming through for that team.
Yeah, I have nothing bad to say from either team, despite the prolific murder rate of, the Piñata Nation coming out in that second half and last match of the entire situation. Massive, incredible potential from Alt3. We're going to love seeing them again as they move down to the losers bracket and move on to the Overwatch Watchers Brawl Season 2 losers bracket tournament. However, that being said, it's time for Piñata Nation to select their interviewee, and we're also going to see, once again, remember everyone, ladies and gentlemen, vote for your MVP of the match. We love hearing your voice. We want to make sure that you are going to be presented and represented. And that being said, Piñata Nation must give us tribute.
Indeed, they have to send one of their players into the caster's pit, where we will berate them with a bunch of almost arbitrary questions. But that being said, not quite sure who they're going to be bringing in. It looks like it might be Alfie, and indeed it is.
And wham bam, thank you ma'am. Here we have Alfie from the team of Piñata Nation, who has just completed a legendary reverse sweep. Alfie, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And it's a pleasure to have you. How are you feeling right now?
Not gonna lie, we're all pretty hyped. All thanks to Salty, Pug, just everyone on the team. We just held it together and pulled it out.
Right? Love seeing it. So we're looking at the game that has just happened, and we're super happy to have you here. And Piñata Nation, again, turning that reverse sweep from the initial little bit of a struggle. How are you feeling specifically given the role that you were playing on the team?
We were a little bit shaky at the beginning. I was also a little shaky in the beginning, but we all decided to work together, pull our heads together, and just take one map at a time after the second loss.
Love seeing that. Now, on Ilios, when you guys switched over to that composition, is that a particular, for Well and possibly Lighthouse, are those compositions that you have worked on in the past?
Those have been compositions that we worked on in the past, and those are compositions that we feel pretty comfortable on. Although the Farah Mercy was a bit of a twist.
Ah, okay. Love seeing that. Now, for the rest of the tournament, are you going to see you guys relying on more of that kind of bizarre composition? And how do you feel yourselves seeing the hero bands playing out?
We'll see later in the tournament. With the power invested in Piñata Nation and Netcat, we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. Now, as a support player, you personally, which is the hero on your team, role possibly wise, that you want to keep up the most?
I think it's just basically every team wants to keep up the most Lucio in particular because almost every composition Lucio is very viable in, and he's just very important with the speed boost.
Based on your performance and your history, I think Lucio is going to be the guaranteed for that one. So once again, and by the way, Alfie, I want to say congratulations because you have been named the literal MVP of the match for this game between Piñata Nation and All3. So congratulations.
Pug's been robbed. Oh my.
Well, just don't have Pug watch this, and we'll just you can just tell them that they
I
won.
bet you he's watching right now.
I mean, honest,
Rest in peace, Pug.
I will argue that the only reason, no offense, Alfie, and literal MVP, was that Genji was banned for Ilios.
Yep.
That being said, super pleasure to have you, Alfie. Looking forward to seeing Piñata Nation in the matches in the future for Overwatch Watchers Brawl.
Thanks for having me.
This has been 3.007 casting with Sir Waltham. You can find me at 3.007 on Twitch and Twitter.
Likewise, you could find me at Sir Waltham on Twitch and Sir Waltham Gaming on Twitter. Thanks for joining us, and it's been a great night and just a massive long night. I'm enthusiastic as hell.
Thanks everyone for sticking with us through to the very end. See you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Take care and stay safe.